Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Today it's a bit more on the engagement part, so I would also be asking for feedback or interaction from anywhere you are joining from. Today it's all about, you know, interaction, where you are going to be asking me pretty much anything you want to know. Um, I would encourage you to make it more personal. So, freely ask about what you are thinking about in your journey, whether you are an employee working in an organization, or you're a founder starting out your business, or you are even, doing something that is a side also, and you are, preparing to transit to something permanent. Please let us know, and we'll be glad to engage and help out as much as we can. All right. So before we start today, I'd love to just encourage everyone, wherever you are, whatever you are doing, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself to acknowledge that you are making progress. Be kind to yourself to not be too harsh on yourself by comparing yourself to other people and, undermining your own progress or the journey and successes that you are making. Don't undermine it. Don't feel like, oh, you're not doing like, Mr. A, or you're not doing like Mr. B. And I believe that that will, as much as possible, help you on your path and your journey, so that you just focus on contributing your best to that space or that environment where you found yourself. And one of the things I've seen is that sometimes when you compare yourself with other people, you are almost going to fall short. And that in itself is a personal struggle that we all carry. One of the things we see, like I've always joked or shared with people, sometime back on LinkedIn, I just observed that everybody were getting promotion. I was promoted. And after a while, I started asking myself that, feel like I'm the only one in the whole world that is not promoted or does not have or did not get any promotion this year. As funny as it sounds, some people are just moving from one point in their journey to another point, and they magnify it. They make it very huge, very big. So for you that you are on your own path, doing your best, you look at yourself and say, oh, I'm not doing well, I'm not making progress, things are not going for me the way they should. And unfortunately, that's not the reality. There are times that you are even making more progress than anyone that you seems to be seeing or comparing yourself with. You see people with their nice cars, their nice houses, snapping pictures, sharing their success story or their journey, and you look at yourself and you say, oh, but I don't have this, I don't have that. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to know that what you have is maybe what you need for now. And if you need more, continue your journey, continue making the progress you are making, and those more that you want to attract, it's just a matter of time. You see yourself acquiring them somewhat automatically. All right, so thank you for joining me this afternoon. This afternoon is Ask Me Anything. It's pretty much trying to take the conversation closer to you so that you can ask the question from your perspective or from where you are standing. And it's not just all about me, or what I'm talking about or what I think all the time. Now, it's going to be engaging, it's going to be interactive, it's going to be more about you rather than about me. Yes, you can personalize and ask some of the lessons or some of the things that I might have not enjoyed or have not appreciated or have struggled with on the journey. But I think it's fair and it's good for you to ensure that you tie it to your own story also. All right, so please let the questions start coming in. But while we are still expecting the question, I would say that one of the blissful part of my journey also is that I've met quite a lot of people from different culture. At least I've not met at all. I would say that I've met people from over 20 countries, over 20 countries. No, it's way more. It's way more. I think I would say over 30 countries, from all sort of languages. And I think it's really nice because each person you meet, there is something peculiar about them. There's something unique about them. There's something you can learn from them, or something you can, learn newly that you've never learned about or heard about before. And I think that's a gift, or that's part of the gift of interacting with people from all walks of life. Oh, thanks so much, Mr. Seth Anyado. Oh, I didn't see that earlier. Thank you for always joining the live sessions. All right. I think the first question just came in. How did you manage to navigate between your work, family, and you creating your own business? Wow, that's really nice. That's a great question. Thanks, Seth. So I think it's a bit more of understanding the priority, or how to order the most important things in life. And I think most times as professionals, we underperform in this perspective, because sometimes it seems like we put, ahead of life the things that are less important, and we deprioritize the things that are important. In my early days, I would say that I had a lot of balance, because I have always been very effective as to how I work. So I will not get late to work, and I will not close very late from work, except on special and occasional cases. So I've been able to say that I have like a particular timeline that I used to work. So let me give an example. In my early days, between 2009 and 2011, I was heavily invested in professional certification courses. And for me to go through these professional certification courses means I have to be very disciplined with my time. So I have a regimen that I follow. I leave work, I get home, I sleep for about 2-3 hours, wake up in the, later in the night. I read again for about 3 to 5 hours, depending on, the energy that I have. And then the other goes on like that, as in it's a cycle. After a while, I switched from my professional certification. After completing some and then failing some repeatedly, I switched to my master's program, following the advice of my father. So what I've seen is that I've been able to find the time for work, and I don't really exceed beyond it. So if work requires 9 hours, 10 hours from me every day, I give it that all. And immediately that time is up, I am off to the next interesting thing. Now, when I'm off like that, I'm able to then focus on my personal development and creating all these other businesses. Meaning that if I'm able to close that early, maybe say 5, 6, I'm off. I get home, between 5:30 and 6. I'm able to, switch back to that other business. Whether it is consulting, whether it is travels, whatever business endeavor that I've always been on, I switch to that. And for family, I think that I block out most times at least 1 hour of quality time every day. Not so much of time I would say I give, but now it's a lot more better because I've learned to understand the impact of spending time with my family, especially the children that are just, growing. Um, and I think that's pretty much how I've spent it. In the early days, also, there was a time I had to travel a lot. By that time, I was away from family. And I think those were times that I really would encourage young people to find a better blend. I wouldn't say I regret it, but it's not, it's not times that I would love to remember. I got married, then went on expedition to Accra for 1 year, so I have to frequent Nigeria, Accra. It wasn't the best of time. So, but I think things got better with time. And what I would encourage is that have a block for work, block for any other ventures or business you want to do, and block for family. And how I would say it is that start with your work, go to your family, and family is, retiring for the day, then you can switch for that other work. But you need to also try hard to make sure that you don't burn yourself out. And for weekends, yes, my Saturday and my Sunday is 100% focused on personal life. I rarely have anything to do with work. There are times on Sunday I'm tempted to do quite a lot of work, especially in recent time. There's been quite a lot of workload, but that has been it got better with time, and I think it will keep getting better because now I have a hang of it. I'm investing time in playing soccer with my son, investing time in doing some, major chores at home like cooking. I'm bringing out my chef skills. Cooking. I want to do some baking. I want to do some, nice things that I would then use that to bond and spend time with the children. And I think I'm really loving it. All right. Oh, thank you, Mary. About how I navigated my most difficult clients. How I navigated my most difficult clients. Okay. I think I would say this from three different angles. There was a time I was in the factory. And one of the things I would encourage is that as professional, if you are in the workplace, be extremely professional and know the processes to the core. When I mean know the processes to the core means when someone is asking anything of you, know what is the standard requirement of the organization. All right. So there was this request from a factory manager who asked that I procure a printer for his use in his office. Unfortunately, back then the process was that two people own the spend for IT. The head of IT or the factory manager. The factory manager, because in his domain, he can decide to make a change or do an expansion. So in this case of this factory manager, he had recently resumed to the factory. He asked that he needed a personal printer, and I explained the process to him, but he would not have it. All he just wants is that get me the printer. Unfortunately, I can say that seems to be a colleague that I wouldn't say is not professional, but seems to think he can lord and rule things over one. And how I managed it was just to ensure that my line manager was carried along through the entire process and through the entire saga. Also in the factory, I have a direct report, a dotted line reporting to the factory account and admin manager. So I carried that along also. And during the, let me say the saga, when there was a heat up between myself and the factory manager, it was very clear that there was nothing in my control. I had escalated, I had done all the needful. I had explained to him that if he could release, a budget or a spend for it vis-a-vis what was planned, the previous year and this year, then maybe the procurement could be done. I could also remember that there was a director in the business who had some challenges with his network, and a critical meeting seemed or got disrupted because he had to switch between wireless network and wired network. And he was really angry. Was really, really, really angry. And when we had a similitude of an altercation, and he spoke in a way that I couldn't really accept from him as a colleague, I was very clear to break down the process also as to how exactly these issues should be resolved. Unfortunately for him, he was proposing a solution that I should take. So there's been a miscommunication in my team, someone telling him that the access point or what was supplying the network to is wirelessly is old and needs to be changed. And he said to me, "Hey, Okoyemi, get this thing changed. I know that will make my network work properly." And I said to him respectfully that, number one, I know he has an issue. That is established. Number two, it's my responsibility to fix the issue. That is established. However, number three is that he will not be the one to teach me or take me through the process of how to resolve the issue, because there are standard IT practices, and I am the professional in the room. I am the one in the room to make things happen or to solve that problem. And he has to understand that I have to follow through on that process. And I disabused his mind versus what was told or what was shared with him earlier by one of my direct reports, to say that it has nothing to do with the age of the access point. Obviously, that is not the issue. At some point in time, it got a bit heated, but what I realized is that with the application of emotional intelligence, all I focused on was to listen to his concern and to address his concern. Every other thing, emotion, flaring, and all that was not my concern, and I had nothing to do with that. In fact, in a way, I would say I was disadvantaged because he's a director and I'm a manager, stroke a senior manager. So there was really nothing much I could do other than have that conversation with him. And then on the business side, I think that one of the time, my largest or the customer with the largest contribution to my revenue was livid with me on a particular request, and expressed herself, but unfortunately she was not allowing me to end my conversation, and she was interrupting. What I simply did was to explain to her clearly, to be fair, that I ended my thoughts, and then we broke down the issue to exactly what was happening. Because sometimes I've realized that when we engage people, we don't document properly. There are no minutes to the meeting, there are no reports, there are no action plans. All we just do is that we come to the meeting, we have the engagement, everyone is happy, we moved on. So I switched that around to ensure that for every request or conversation in all the meetings I have with our clients going forward, there is a detailed action plan. What is the issue or the request sent to me? Who is responsible? Is it from their end or my end? And what is the timeline to close the issue? I think those were the ways I was able to, manage my most difficult clients. What do you do when you are not working? Oh, I think this is the best part. So when I'm not working, I would say that I find time to play. I play, I watch movie, I spend time with my family, and then I go to church, obviously. So when I'm not working, those are the things that I would say I do. Recreation, visits, take a walk in my neighborhood with my family. Sometimes the boys will play soccer, and I will be the coach or the guide. Sometimes it's gonna be movie night with the family, and then sometimes I go for my church activities. I think those are pretty much the way I I I spend my time. I used to, watch movie, Netflix and all sorts, but for weeks or for months now, work has not allowed me to do that. But I've switched that to, some of the things that I spoke about earlier, cooking. Now I'm a professional chef, um, cooking some nice dishes. Um, I don't want to bore you with them, but anyone that visits my TikTok will see some of them. Jollof rice, egusi soup, um, the solid, whether it is pando, semo, whatever it is. I'm happy to make all that. Sometimes it's for the family, sometimes it's just for myself and my wife, sometimes it's for me alone. So it depends on who wants to be part of it. How do you celebrate a win? Wow. All right. So by nature, I'm a very happy-go-lucky person. If it were in a virtual world, all I would just be doing every day is to have fun and relax and do party. So what I do when there is a win is I make sure the team is conscious of it. Because most times I think that we don't appreciate the little things that bring great results. We commonize them as part of our work, and then we move on to the next most important thing. So I take time. I take time to ensure that we pretty much acknowledge it. That's the first thing. The second one is we then ask, how the team would love to celebrate it. Back then, Nestle, it could be a gift voucher because it depends on what the policy permits. It could be a gift voucher. Sometimes it's a lunch. Sometimes it's a proper dinner. And in some cases, we include our spouses and our children. That's sparingly, at least maybe once or twice a year. But we get to ensure that we don't just make it internal to ourselves as an affair between the team members or the colleagues in the office. We extend it to our spouses and our children so that they can get a flair of what it looks like and how we are recognizing the little things that their spouses or their family members are doing in their work and how they are pushing things forward. One of the things I could remember some time back is that when I switched to my startup now, I asked my daughter, my first daughter, I asked her that she should compare Nestle versus my startup now, which one, her preference and why. And she said, she preferred Nestle because we used to go for party. We used to go for what we call what do we call these events now? There used to be like an all-day event that I think we call it Family Fun Day. Yes, Family Fun Day. Yes. So that was really something that was, I don't know how to put it. I told my co-founder, I said, the culture you are building, you're not doing well. My daughter does not like press one. We laughed over it, but we improved. We improved by ensuring that there's team building. The team comes together at some point in time to speak to the progresses or successes we've made, and then celebrate each other. Sometimes when it's someone's birthday, put the team together, we have a lunch, and I think we have improved in that light. Personally, if I have my way, I would say that I would give myself a nice vacation. I love traveling, so that's what I would probably choose and go for if I'm to celebrate a major win. Do you have a dream car, and what's your TikTok ID? Okay. Thanks, Mary, for asking. I don't know how to explain myself when it comes to cars. But anyone that is Nigerian and understands a part of the world I come from, uh, we don't spend money anyhow. We spend money cautiously and carefully. Um, I mean, if you are Nigerian, you will understand when I say I'm an Ijebu man, or I'm from the Remo part of my state, in Ogun State. So, dream car has always been something that, um, how do I explain this? I don't know how to put it. A car that is, I don't know how to put it. It's not bogus, but really, you know, very nice when it's walking on the streets. It's not, maybe also because I mean the roads were bad in Nigeria and all that, so I'd always preferred SUV. But if I'm to look at way back, I would say an Escalade will cut it for me. If I want to pick a dream car, I'm not someone that is sleek. But now that things are changing a lot, maybe I want an EV. Um, Maybe an EV would do now. But back then it used to be Escalade. There was also a time it was Avalon, Toyota. I used to like the dashboard. It was like is it like the cockpit of a plane, or how do I describe it? There's this curved design that was on the Avalon dashboard. I used to like Avalon. So between Avalon, Escalade, and then maybe an EV, that will cut it. Okay, for my TikTok ID, just 1 minute, at Opeshokumbi. Still somewhat somehow, but you see a lot of live sessions that I've had there. I don't know, I'm not a TikTok person. I'm new to TikTok too. LinkedIn has been where I've been spending most of my time. All right, what shaped your mentality? Okay, this is really nice. What shaped my mentality? I think that growing up in Lagos, Nigeria, taught me some important lessons. And maybe just speak to some of them. There was, at least I can remember, 2 or 3 experiences where I see myself in need of a resource and lacked them. And I think most times it's usually when I'm somewhat disconnected from my father or not at home. So I see myself in need, and sometimes I don't have anyone to help. So I've realized that when I get to meet people today where they need help in any form or in any shape or in any light, whatever it is, I have that part of me that connects to say that it's much more important to give than to get or to collect. And that's been something that helps me focus on the outcome of anything I do, and not necessarily the reward or what I will gain from it. So I would rather focus on the outcome, the impact on someone, the value someone will get, and not necessarily what's in it for me and how much I will get in return, whether it is financial, praise, or whatever form, and in whatever shape. I've also seen scenarios where people are taken advantage of because they don't have enough resources. So most times I am happy to speak up when things are not going the right way or how it should go. And when I'm not able to speak up, I find ways to ensure that I can encourage or support the person. Now, last but not the least is focusing on things that are long-term and impact-driven. I've realized that most times the things we pursue on short-term basis rarely last, and they don't give the impact that we desire or we would want to see. So I have that bit of me that says that let me focus on something that is long term. 8 years, 10 years down the line, what will be the outcome? Not 1 year, 2 years, what I get, and then I move on to the next most important thing. And I think last but not the least is that when you grow up in a place where the resources is not in abundance, there is room for you to ensure that you work more than your peers. So there is this part of me that ensures that I don't forget that there is a place for hard work, even no matter how brilliant anyone is. If you are brilliant and you don't invest time to fine-tune that brilliance, to fine-tune the idea, the innovation, and you think that you can be ahead of your peers in the marketplace, then you'll be you'll be setting yourself up for surprises. So there's this part of me that is reserved that says that, man, oh man, you have to work. And whether things are working fine or they are not working fine, there is no room for you to give up. So I think some of these experiences have then shaped, my mentality as to the work ethic, believing in hard work, the concept of not giving up, which is, some people will call it staying power, which sometimes I find surprising that in our generation is lacking. People just want to move on to the most interesting, exciting thing, and don't understand that what they have at hand, they have to invest time, energy, resources before it can get better or be better than what they desire to have. So I think that's pretty much all that I've built around my mentality, and also sometimes because of the way, or maybe my nature as a sanguine, I try hard to ensure that I treat people the way I want them to treat me. So I don't want to assume anything about any human, and I don't want to compare or be judgmental in my view and opinion about people. So let's say, for example, 3 people walking into the room. In my idea of service, I tell my team, everyone is human, everyone is the same. We are breathing in the same oxygen, the same quality of oxygen. There's pretty much nothing different in any human being. So whatever you do to the managing director is what you should do to the intern. It's the same thing you should do to the core member. It's the same thing you should do to a graduate trainee. That's the idea that I have. And I think it's just critical and important that someone is an office cleaner or a professional chauffeur driver in the office does not mean the person is less important than the managing director of the organization. So I think these are some of the things that I've been able to shape my mentality in terms of how I see things, in terms of how I engage with the world, in terms of my conversation, in terms of how I relate with people. Because sometimes I've also seen scenarios where people will come to you and say this person is not a good person and expect you to take their perspective to start treating the other person as not being a good person. I've always said to myself that that's not me. I want to know you for who you are, and when I know you, I would then be able to understand how to treat you or engage you or deal with you. All right, which book will you read over and over again apart from the Bible? It's not a popular book. Okay, it's not a popular book, but the number one book is a book, a biography of a man called Demos Shakarian. Demos Shakarian is the founder of Full Gospel Businessmen Fellowship International. The book is titled The Happiest People on Earth. The Happiest People on Earth. The book is prophetic. The book is instructive. The book is one of the things that shape my ideology as to how the world should cohabit and relate together. It's a book that makes us understand, or makes people understand, that Our life is not ordered by how much we think about them, rather is orchestrated by a designer. There were a lot of things that happened that he spoke about in the book. For the first time in my life, I love reading, but not to the extent that I will not drop a book until I finished it. That book is one of those, book that I read, and I've read over again. I still would want to read over again. Now that you have reminded me about it, maybe I have to order another copy of it. I'm not sure I have a copy, with me now. I have to order another copy and read. The Happiest People on Earth. It's phenomenal. It's great. It's nice. All right. I also loved Tim LaHaye's book, The Spirit Controlled Temperament. I've read that over and over also, and I would still love to read it again this year. Tim LaHaye demystified, the nature of human character, personality, and temperament. Those things can be complex, but it demystified it. It broke it down so much so to a level that I love, and one dimension that is not for everyone, but at least he spoke about is your temperament as you are, and then when the Holy Spirit comes in, the dimension is a bit different. So I love that about the book. Another book I love, The Purpose Driven Life. Purpose Driven Life now. Yes, I think it's a Purpose Driven Life by Rick Warren. Yes, that's also a good read. And I think the last one I can remember clearly is Talent is Never Enough by J.C. Maxwell. No matter how talented anyone is, there are so many other elements that will shape them. One element that I've never seen people doctored or written much about, and I will take time. If I can research better on it, I would probably love to author a book and speak about men whom were fortunate to ride on it. Is a phenomenon that is called time and chance. Time and chance is critical to every journey that we make. So I think those are the books. I think I've given about 3 or 4 books now. Those are books that I'll read over and over again. Mary, thank you for asking those questions, and thank you for making the Ask Me Anything a great conversation. All right, if you are still with me, my name is Opeyemi Shokunbi, and today I'm having conversation around my journey so far as a founder, and I've decided to have a special session where you could ask things that you want to know about me, and then also if there are things that you'd also love to learn more about that has to do with process building or development, that has to do with governance, that has to do with service management, that has to do with infrastructural development, that has to do with anything that I have experience in, to speak about that and to share my little knowledge with you. Thank you everyone who has joined so far. And when it comes to strategy, what is your ideology and culture around it? Okay. So this is a bit how do I put it now? Permit me to use an informal word. This is yam pepper scatter. All right. So when it comes to strategy, I think that the first part I always look at is that the best person that executes an idea is the one that wins. It's not a function of the man who has the best idea. No, it's the one who executes it is the one that will win. And what I've seen is that when it comes to strategy, it's a bit easier than execution. So I try to ensure that I'm not losing focus on execution as I'm strategizing. For strategizing, I would say that the most important bit is to demystify all the things that are not known. and break them down to the barest minimum. Think it in such a way that some people back in Nestle would call it back to the basics. What are the fundamentals? What are the basics of the things that you want to do? And what are the things that you then need to put in place? That's the first place I would say one should start with when it comes to strategy and when it comes to thinking through about things. And I think that as much as possible, simplification is also very important, because what usually happens with the way we are formulating things today is that we think that using big grammar or big terms are the things that makes it special. No, I would say that break it down in such a way that it can be almost, let me say, replicated in almost any endeavor that comes close to how it should look, or how it will be used. And one of the things I've also seen about it is that you, maybe just like people talk about the agile methodology, you need to know that you have to be fluid with it. You have to be fluid with it because what you know as a fact today, tomorrow might be demystified and is no longer relevant. So if you say that your strategy is cast in stone and things changes, then we will all suffer for it, meaning that at the end of the day it's not going to work. So you need to then have that notion that as to venture into it, if anything changes or if you need to modify anything, you will not be too hard on yourself. And it's similar to when we started, and I was saying that whatever anyone is doing and whatever you're going through, know that life is already tough in itself, so be kind to yourself. So strategy sometimes is similar to that, because that you have sat down and formulated something that you think is great in form of strategy, that does not automatically mean you will win with that strategy. So that's where the fluidity comes in, to ensure that when you now see that things are not going as envisaged, as designed, as preempted, what do you then do differently? So you need to also find a way to inculcate and put that into your strategy formulation. And I also would say that as much as possible, don't think through that process alone. You know, if there are people you think have done something similar or gone ahead of you, I would say that get their wisdom. That will also help you to ensure that what you build will be very, very, solid and, relatable to both yourself, your team, and the people that will interact with it in the future. To say, oh, so we did this before. Did it work? Did it not work? Then they can, go ahead and get all the details. And then I would say that as much as possible, please document all the things that work and the ones that did not work. Because there's this, I don't know whether it's the nature of men, but we forget things easily. So if you don't then document things properly and put it in the culture that whether things have worked or they did not work, we'll write them down. The unfortunate reality is that where you have failed, someone in the nearest future might still do it the same way. I wouldn't say don't try that same way again. Yes, you can try it. And I've tried things that did not work yesterday, but I tried them later on, it worked. So I would say that it will only be done differently. But if it's not documented, someone might even go back and do it worse than you've ever tried it or you've ever implemented or pushed the idea out before. Thank you to everyone that has joined. I don't take it for granted. It's a privilege that you have decided to share your time with me. From the deepest part of my heart, I'd love to say thank you, and I will say that this will mark the end of the series. Next week, I will think through something that we can look at that is more or less relevant for our time and season, and that would be the point of discuss for next week. It's been exciting to have you all join me. Thank you, Mary, for all the nice questions, and then also for sharing with the audience some of the books and some of the details that we discussed. Thank you, Seth, for joining as usual. Thank you, Tara, for all that you do before I go live and even when I'm live. I hope I've been able to, share exciting things with us, and I look forward to seeing us next week. Thank you once again, and thank you a million times. I want to wish you a great week ahead. Enjoy the rest of the day.